Alrighty, folks, you know I got to give a huge shout out to all of my chairman members on my premium site because chairman members cashed in on 5 more premium selections on my website yesterday. It's been a really good, lucrative week here. And I'll tell you what, the only way you could have accessed all of those winners is to join my full access, all-inclusive chairman package. If you are not signed up to that, you are doing yourself a gross disservice. You are definitely missing out. I'll explain a little bit more, about all that in just a moment. But before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to my NBA free pick video here today for Friday, April 12th, 2024. Happy Friday to you. Weekend's finally here. My name is Brock Page. I've been dishing out free sports picks right here on YouTube since 2016. And if you want to see which one of the games here today on the slate that I actually like the best, you're going to want to sign up for my full access, all-inclusive chairman package. Chairman members get access to every single premium selection of mine, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you also get access to my chairman podcast absolutely free. It's included with your purchase. Now, if you don't need access to every single premium selection of mine, which I don't know why you wouldn't want all of them, but if you just want to use like one a day, well, I do have a package for you. You may want to think about signing up for my $1.99 daily best play. It gives you one premium selection of mine every single day for the next 30 days. The math works out to be just 6 cents a day. Now, guys, I'm currently 3-0 my last 3 daily best plays, 3-0 my last 3 underdog tier package picks, 3-0 my last 3 NBA tier package plays, 4-0 my last 4 board member tier package picks, and finally, folks, I told you, we had a hot week. And finally, folks, we are 4-0 in our last 4 chairman package picks in that membership alone. And the good news is, hey, we got plays going off in all of those memberships here today. We're going to try to keep this thing going because we've had one hell of a week. Guys, it's patreon.com/BrockPage. And with that, folks, we're going to dive right into the free content. For some reason, still, Xfinity not acknowledging NBA this week. I don't know what's going on with their sports app, but anyway. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Bulls, Wizards, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Chicago's -1.5, totals 223. And, the Bulls, they shot the basketball well this year in certain spots. They're a top 10 free throw shooting team at the line. Meanwhile, on the road, the Bulls somehow became one of the better three-point shooting teams in the Eastern Conference. They're taking on a pathetic Washington team who gave up more points a game at home than any other team in the league. And out of 40 games in the nation's capital, the Wizards got the W just 7 times. They had a tough time grabbing rebounds all year long. They were dead last in both offensive and defensive rebounding for like the majority of the season. Now, injury-wise, Holmes, Poole, and Omorie are questionable. Jones, Kuzma, and Shamet are out. Good to see the organization putting a solid product out there for the last home game of the year. Meanwhile, for Chicago, on the other side, Drummond and Dosunmu are questionable for them. Now, total-wise, the Wizards did see overs in 6 out of their last 8 games. Meanwhile, for the Bulls, they saw overs recently against the likes of Detroit, New York, and Brooklyn. Give me Chicago -1.5. Over 223. Next game, Magic Sixers, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Philadelphia's -8 in South Philly, totals 212. The Philadelphia's struggled offensively at home this year. They're a bottom 5 field goal making team in the Wells Fargo Center. And they're taking on one of the tougher defensive teams in the league in Orlando. The Magic give up just 108 points a night. And they're currently the best defensive rebounding team in the game. Wendell Carter leads the roster in boards. Paolo Banchero is right behind him. When it comes to the injury list, Franz Wagner is questionable for the Magic. Lowry, Embiid, and KJ Martin are day-to-day. for Philadelphia. 6 out of Orlando's last 10 ball games fell under the total. Philly saw unders recently against the likes of Memphis, OKC, and Sacramento. Give me Orlando +8, under 212. Next game, Nets, Knicks, 7:30 Eastern start time. New York's -10.5, totals 211. And even though this is a big number, the Knicks have done a nice job covering the point spread recently. They're 7-3 against the spread in their last 10. They covered in a bunch of home games this year at Madison Square Garden. And I'll tell you, for those who don't know, the Knicks are very tough to score against. They're allowing fewer points a game at home than any other club in their conference. And they're facing a Brooklyn squad who can't shoot or score themselves. They're a bottom 5 field goal shooting team on the road. And out of their last 10 meetings with New York, the Nets have been held to just 108 points a game. All kinds of problems on the offensive end of the court. Now, injury-wise, Finney-Smith, Dennis Smith, and Jalen Martin are out. Sharp and Johnson are questionable. When it comes to the total, Brooklyn's last 2 straight fell under the number. 60% to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, the Knicks, they've seen nearly 70% of their home games stay under the line themselves. Give me New York -10.5, under 211. Next game, Hornets, Celtics, 7:30 p.m. East. Boston's -9, totals 217.5. And it does look like the Celtics are shutting down the starters here this evening. Horford, Holiday, Porzingis, Brown, and Tatum. They've all been listed as questionable. Can't imagine they're going to suit up here. And I tell you, when it comes to the point spread, the Celtics have really kind of like put things into cruise control, and rightfully so, right? Like, there's no sense in getting guys hurt or banged up, and so they've been kind of maybe going a little bit more gingerly over the past week or so. So with that in mind, out of Boston's last 9 contests, the Celtics did fail to cover in all of those games except for 2. And they're facing a Charlotte team who's coming off recent victories against the likes of Atlanta and Orlando. And out of their last 9 games themselves, Charlotte's done a nice job covering the number. They went 6-3 against the spread during that time frame, and they've actually done some good things defensively on the road. Charlotte's currently in the top 10 in first quarter points allowed away from home. Now, injury-wise, Grant Williams and Nick Richards are questionable for the Hornets. Charlotte did see unders recently against the likes of Portland and Golden State. They're also 14-10 to the under in their in-conference road games. Now, Boston, on the other side, they saw unders recently against the likes of the Bucks, Kings, and Pelicans. Give me Charlotte +9, under 217.5. Next game, Pacers, Cavaliers, 7:30 Eastern start time. Cleveland's -3, totals 234. And I'll tell you, Cleveland really hasn't, played their best basketball recently. They took the loss in 3 out of their last 4 games. They've had all kinds of problems covering the point spread. Cleveland failed to cover in 7 out of their last 10. They've been really lackluster on offense. The Cavs are a bottom 10 point producing team. And unfortunately for them, they're facing a Pacer club who's led the entire league in scoring all year long. Pascal Siakam averages 21 points a game. Tyrese Halliburton, 20 points a night himself. And I tell you, when the Pacers travel, they don't miss much. Indy's making 50% of their attempts from beyond the arc. Now, injury-wise, Isaiah Jackson's questionable for the Pacers. Sam Merrill's doubtful for the Cavs. When it comes to the total, the Cavs saw overs in 7 out of their last 10. They also went 60% to the over in their last 10 meetings with the Pacers. So if you're into historical trends, plenty of overs to go around. Now, Indy went 6-3 to the over in their last 9 ball games themselves. Give me the Pacers +3, over 234. Next matchup, Hawks, Timberwolves, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Minnesota's -13, totals 226. And the T-Wolves are the toughest team in the NBA to score against, winners of 7 out of their last 10. Meanwhile, Atlanta's on a 4-game skid, and they failed to cover it in their last 5 straight. And a lot of their issues this season has been on defense. The Hawks are just allowing way too many points. They're in the bottom 5 in guarding the field goal away from home. When it comes to the injury list, Matthews and Lundy are out. Griffin, Murray, and Capella are questionable. Meanwhile, for Minnesota on the other side, Jalen Clark is still out with that Achilles injury. And when it comes to the total, 5 out of the T-Wolves' last 9 did stay under the line. Meanwhile, Atlanta saw unders recently against the likes of Dallas and Chicago. Give me Minnesota minus 13, under 226. All right, next game, Nuggets, Spurs, 8 o'clock East. Denver's minus 13.5, totals 222 and a hook. And as good as Denver is, they've struggled to cover the point spread for most of the season, believe it or not. These guys are covering in just 41% of their road games. And I'll tell you, the Nuggets actually had a tough time offensively in those road contests this year. They're a bottom 10 point producing team in their travels. And they're facing a San Antonio squad who's winning games for some reason. I don't know why they're doing that, but they did get the W in 5 out of their last 9. And they successfully covered in all of those contests except for 2. And when it comes to fourth quarter point production, the Spurs have put up a lot of points late in games. They're a top 3 point producing team in the fourth quarter in the West. Now, injury-wise, Osman, Johnson, and Barlow are out for the Spurs. 6 out of San Antonio's last 10 ball games did get over the total. Meanwhile, Denver saw overs recently against the likes of Minnesota, Atlanta, and Cleveland. Give me the Spurs plus 13.5, over 222 and a hook. Next game, Lakers, Grizzlies, 8 o'clock East. The Lakers are minus 16, totals 226. And I'll tell you, this is an egregiously big number for a lackluster road team. The Lakers are just 8-15 this year in their out-of-conference road games. And when it comes to defensive play, well, they're giving up just way too many points in their travels. The Lakers allow 121 points a night away from Los Angeles. And they're facing a Memphis team who's been tough to score against at home. The Grizzlies are in the top 10 in points allowed per game in their own arena. When it comes to the total, oddly enough, the Grizzlies did see overs recently against the likes of Detroit, Denver, and this very Laker team. Meanwhile, LA saw 7 out of their last 10 get over the total themselves. Now, they're also 15-8 to the over in their conference road games. Give me the Grizzlies plus 16, over 226. All right, next matchup, Bucks, Thunder, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Oklahoma City's minus 15.5, totals 223. And even though the Bucks are, shutting down everyone, it looks like, this is like an insanely large number for OKC to cover here. They failed to cover in 5 out of their last 7, and they really haven't played Milwaukee well in recent gatherings. They actually took the loss in 8 out of their last 10 head-to-head meetings. So although I don't think OKC is going to have problems getting the W here today, I do think they'll have issues covering this very large point spread. Now, another concern I have for OKC, and it may not be applicable in this particular game, but I do think these guys are going to have issues rebounding in the postseason. They are one of the weaker rebounding teams on both ends of the court in the Western Conference. Now, injury-wise for Milwaukee, it looks like Lopez, Lillard, Middleton, Portis, and Beauchamp are currently listed as questionable. Probably a good chance those guys will get scratched. Galloway, Green, and Giannis are out. Not going to see them. Now, the Bucks saw overs in 5 out of their last 9. I'm not expecting some overly physical defense here tonight either. I don't think either team has much to gain by contesting every single shot and really banging and getting guys hurt. These two teams are going into the postseason with very good records and legitimate chances to advance. So, yeah, I don't think you're going to see a stifling defense here tonight. Now, OKC, they went 7-3 to the over in their last 10. They're also 19-10 at the over against the Eastern Conference. Give me the Bucks plus 15.5, over 223. All right, next matchup here. It is going to be Raptors Heat, 8 o'clock East. Miami's minus 15, totals 218.5. And once again, folks, as bad as Toronto is, I just think this is too big of a number here for Miami. They're one of the lowest scoring teams in the Eastern Conference. And I'll tell you, they also get out-rebounded mostly on the offensive end of the court as well. Now, for Toronto on the other side, well, they've been, getting the job done against the number here recently themselves. They successfully covered in 3 out of their last 4 games. They now have a winning record against the point spread on the road. And even though there's not a ton that Toronto does right, these guys are a top 10 point producing team away from home. Now, injury-wise, Brown and Trent are day-to-day. Carton and Porter are out. Meanwhile, for Miami, Terry Rozier's questionable with a neck injury. Keep an eye on him. When it comes to the total, the Heat's seen a bunch of overs here recently. They are 8-2 to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, Toronto went 60% to the over in their last 10 themselves. Give the Raptors plus 15, over 218.5. All right, next game, Pistons, Mavericks, 8:30 Eastern tip-off. Dallas is minus 13. Total is 219. And I'll just be honest. I'll just come right out and say it. This is a terrible lean on my part. Yes, it is. I apologize in advance. Yes, I do. I'm leaning toward the Pistons in this one. They have a winning record against the point spread on the road this year. And they covered more recently against the likes of the Hawks, T-Wolves, and the Pelicans. And for whatever reason, there could be a chance that the Pistons out-rebound Dallas here tonight. The Pistons are a top 10 defensive rebounding team on the road. Meanwhile, Dallas on the other side, they're one of the worst rebounding teams in the West themselves. The Mavs also run into some problems at times defensively. They're giving up a bunch of points early in games. Now, injury-wise, Doncic is questionable. Irving is out. Meanwhile, for Detroit on the other side, Grimes and Cunningham are day-to-day for them. 6 out of Detroit's last 9 got over the total. They're also 23-17 to the over in all of their road games. Dallas saw overs recently against the likes of Charlotte and Houston twice. Give me Detroit plus 13, over 219. All right, next game, Rockets, Blazers, 10 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Houston's 5.5, totals 218. Now, the Rockets have, kind of stunk recently. I'm not going to deny that. But, the Blazers on the other side, they're pretty helpless themselves. Kind of pathetic, pitiful. They're 11-29 in the Moda Center, and they're second to last in home scoring. That's just pathetic. They're averaging a pitiful 108 points a night in their own building this season. Meanwhile, sorry guys, I'm getting a little loopy here. Long video, a lot of games. Took me a long time to gather my notes here today. Now, we're not done banging on Portland. On the other end of the court, Portland struggles to slow anybody down. Their opponents are making 50% of their field goals against them in their own arena. And they are probably going to run into some rebounding problems here today. Houston's a top 3 offensive rebounding team on the road. Now, injury-wise, Grant, Simons, Thibault, and Banton are both, they're all questionable for Portland. When it comes to the total, the Blazers saw unders in 5 out of their last 6. Unders against the likes of Golden State, New Orleans, and Washington. Give me Houston, minus 5.5, under 218. Next game, Pelicans, Warriors, 10 o'clock East. Golden State's minus 5, totals 220. And even though there's not much to complain about when it comes to Golden State here recently, there are a few problem areas that I think they may struggle with here today. Well, I mean, for one, they've had problems with their in-conference, opponents this year. They actually have a losing record against Western Conference, conference opponents at home. So when they play the West, they don't do well in their own building. And I'll tell you, a lot of those issues have been because of defensive problems. The Warriors are in the bottom 10 in the league in points allowed at home. And they're taking on a Pelicans team who likes to shoot on the road. They're a top 3 field goal shooting team in their travels. And no real surprise here, guys. The Pels are making just about 40% of their three-pointers away from home as well. Meanwhile, on the defensive end of things here, the Pels have certainly rebounded well, and they've done a nice job contesting shots. They're a very tough team to shoot the three-pointer against. Now, injury-wise, Larry Nance is questionable. Ingram's still out. Meanwhile, for Golden State, Thompson and Green are questionable. Gary Payton's day-to-day as well. When it comes to the total in this one, well, the Warriors saw 4 out of their last 7 get over the posted total. Meanwhile, the Pels went 4-3 to the over in their last 7 themselves. Give me the Pelicans +5 over 220. Next matchup, Suns Kings, 10:30 p.m. East. Phoenix is -4.5. Total's 224 and a hook. And I do like this number for Phoenix bettors. They've got the second highest field goal percentage on the road in the game. Kevin Durant, he averages 27 points a night, and he's drilling 41% of his long balls. Meanwhile, Bradley Beal and Grayson Allen, they're knocking down well over 41% of their three-pointers collectively. When it comes to grabbing boards, the Suns have been out-rebounding most clubs they face. They're a top 5 rebounding team on the road. And they're squaring off against a Sacramento team who's been kind of like terrible defensively in the Golden One Center. They're letting their opponents knock down 40% of their three balls against them in their own building. And out of their last 9 ball games, the Kings took the W in all of those except for 3. Now, injury-wise, McGee, Monk, and Ford are questionable for Sacramento. When it comes to the total, the Kings saw overs against the likes of the Pelicans, Knicks, and Jazz. Meanwhile, Phoenix on the other side, they average over 118 points a game in their last 10 gatherings with Sacramento. So once again, if you're into historical trends, you certainly want to think about that one there. Now, the Kings did see overs recently against the likes of the Pelicans, Knicks, and Jazz. Give me Phoenix -4.5 over 224 and a hook. And with that, folks, we're going to dive into our next and final breakdown for the video. It's going to be in that Jazz-Clippers game, and that'll be a 10:30 Eastern tip-off. Utah's -14.5, totals 224. And both teams do have some players on that injury report. For Los Angeles, Kawhi's been scratched. Harden is questionable. And I'll tell you what, for a team laying this absurdly big number, the Clippers do have a losing record against the point spread in their own building. And they're taking on a Utah team who covered against the likes of Houston and Golden State here recently. When it comes to grabbing boards, the Jazz continue to rebound well. They're a top 3 offensive rebounding team in the league. Now, injury-wise, Clarkson, Dunn, Collins, Sexton, and Kessler are questionable for the Jazz. When it comes to the total, Utah went 7-3 to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, the Clippers went 60% to the over in their last 10 themselves. Give me the Jazz +14.5 over 224. And with that, folks, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. Give me Chicago -1.5 over 223. Orlando +8 under 212. I'm 4-0 my last 4 chairman package picks on my premium site. Knicks -10.5 under 211. Charlotte +9 under 217.5. Pacers +3 over 234. T-Wolves -13 under 226. Spurs +13.5 over 222 and a hook. Grizzlies +16 over 226. Bucks +15.5 over 223. Raptors +15 over 218.5. Pistons +13 over 219. Rockets -5.5 under 218. Pelicans +5 over 220. Suns minus 4.5 over 224 and a hook. And give me the Jazz plus 14.5 over 224. And with that, folks, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my premium site. Now, if you do end up getting a membership here today on patreon.com/BrockPage, just a friendly reminder, you're going to get access to that membership every single day for the next 30 days. As an added bonus, you're also going to get access to all of my cheaper memberships absolutely free. They're going to be included with your purchase. That's why I always tell folks that Chairman package, it's a full access, all-inclusive membership. It gives you access to every single premium selection of mine, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you also get access to my Chairman podcast absolutely free. It is included with your purchase. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on the free video. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, folks, happy Friday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my premium site at patreon.com/BrockPage.